Alright guys, so here's the review of the Pagani design PD1762. So you might have seen the previous version of this I checked out a while back, that was the PD1682. So there's a few differences between the two, which we'll touch on when we get into the review. But before we do that, full disclosure, I wasn't sent the watch for free, but I did get a discount on it. But you know the score. So I'm going to change the way I do my reviews, going to keep it 100% honest all the time, no matter what. So as you can see, it comes in the usual packaging, so we're not going to go over that, so put that to one side. And we'll get right down to it. So, let's start off with the dimensions. So we've got a diameter of 40mm, well it says 40mm on the listing, I've actually measured it at 39.9, whereas the previous version was 42mm, so that's a good start. Then we've got a thickness of 12.1, lug width of 20, and then the all important lug to lug is coming in at 47.6. So pretty nice dimensions. And a big difference as well from the previous one, we've actually got female end links now, whereas before we had male ones. So with that smaller diameter and obviously smaller lug to lug, it just wears a lot better on a lot more wrist sizes. So quickly go over the bracelet before we get onto the actual head of the watch. So it's a fully brushed bracelet, polishing on the side. And we've actually got screw links as well, which is always good to see. And then this is where another change comes in, so with this clasp. So it looks the same as the previous Pagani design clasps, but we've now actually got proper micro adjust you can actually access from the outside. You don't have to do that fiddly bit on the inside, which they used to have in Paganis. So I do appreciate they've done that, it just makes it a lot easier to actually use. Other than that though, it's basically the same, so friction based clasp with the fold over. And then seeing it around here, let's get a quick look at that movement, because this is one of the main selling points of this watch. So we've got the NH34 in this, so that's the GMT. Obviously the previous version had a Chinese movement, I think it was a DG5833A, something like that. If you haven't seen that review, by the way, I'll leave a link to it up here if you want to check it out. So although I appreciate they have got a display case back on there, with it being one of the NH movements, they're not the best looking movements, so personally I would have preferred a solid case back. If it's not a good looking decorated movement really, not really that bothered about seeing it. But when it comes to the specs around the outside, we've got Pagani design, stainless steel, 100m water resistance, and then you can see we've got solid end links there as well, as you'd expect. Getting back to the head of the watch, let's take a look at this dial. So it is a really nice kind of glossy white dial, and we've actually also got an applied logo this time around. So it's a little bit unusual this, so it kind of looks silver on that angle. Then if you turn it, it's more of a grey kind of colour. And then certain angles it will look black. So it does play with the light a bit, but I do like that it's now applied. Pretty sure the previous one wasn't. When it comes to the rest of the text on the dial though, that's all just printed. So Pagani design just below that. GMT, automatic, water resistant, 100m. We've got that date window there at the 3 o'clock, which does magnify nicely, although you can't quite see it at the moment because the hand's in the way. And this is where I've got a slight issue with this, and that is those hands. So the GMT hand, it's got a really nice length on it, coming right up to the edge. That minute track, but the hour and minute hands are a little on the stubby side. They could do with being slightly bigger. Second hand again, not too bad, possibly could be a touch longer, but it's not really that noticeable, whereas the hour and minute hand do look a little off, especially that short stubby hour hand. When it comes to the indices, they are actually all applied, and they've got this black surround around them as well, but they do look a little bit of an odd colour. So they're all lume filled, but they look a bit grey. So I don't know if that's because the indices are fully black or something like that, so it's kind of mixed in with the lume, or it's coming through underneath the black. But it does give them a slightly grey tinge, which is a little bit disappointing. Doesn't match the hands and just looks a little bit odd. So that's something they can improve again if they do another version of this. And then when it comes to the bezel, we've got a stainless steel bezel. And we have actually got the numbers inlaid there, and they're filled. Nicely done again, and we've got a polished chamfered edge around that bezel. Coming around to the other side, got a signed crown. See quite a lot of fingerprints there. You can see we've actually got a polished case on the sides, so it does gather fingerprints quite a bit. And then when it comes to the top, it's fully brushed to match that bracelet. And it does integrate nicely. No rattle there at all. So now let's check whether we've got sapphire crystal on this, using the trusty diamond selector tool. And yep, we have got sapphire crystal. Quickly test out that cyclops. And yep, that is also sapphire. Quickly test out the back. And that is just mineral. As you kind of expect, really. It's pretty much the norm for most AliExpress watches. And when it comes to that sapphire crystal on the front, they do say they've got AR on this. I think there might be a little bit there again. Not getting quite as much glare as I do sometimes from the lights. So, although could probably do with a few more layers, again, it's not too bad. It's a step in the right direction, which is pretty much the way a lot of this watch is going so far. It's a step in the right direction, but it's just not quite where it needs to be at the moment. So now, mentioning that, let's get on to what is normally Pagani Design's Achilles heel, and that's the Lume. So you can see we've got a little bit there already, but let's charge it up, give it a fair chance. And there we go. So initially, it's looking pretty good. So again, according to the listing, they say it's now BGW9. It's not their weird proprietary Lume they were using before, which had a bit of a darker blue colour to it. This does look more like BGW9. And as I say, initially it is pretty good. Tiny bit of inconsistency between the hands and the indices. The hands are brighter than the indices, but if you can have it one way or the other, that's the way you want it. So, not too bad. We've also got some lume on that second hand as well. But you can probably see now it's beginning to fade a bit on the dial. Especially that 12 o'clock marker. And the one at the 6 as well. So there's a little bit of an inconsistency across the indices. And again, I think that's because of the way they've done the lume on them. That odd grey colour I was talking about earlier. So it's making it a little bit weaker and just a little bit odd. Definitely an improvement on previous Paganis I've checked out. But again, it's not going to be lasting you all night. But again, as I've said with a few other things, step in the right direction. So now, let's talk about the main reason you're probably going to be interested in this watch, and that's the movement. So, screw down crown, so just quickly unscrew that. Pop it out once. And then we rotate it one way, we can change the date. Rotate it the other way, we can move that GMT hand, and it does actually jump to each number. And then obviously pop it out again, second hand stops, we go hacking, and then we can just change the time, and then the GMT hand will move with that. Pop it back in, second hand re-engages. Then you got hand winding, all works well. As you'd expect with most Seiko movements, no issues at all. So, you're probably wondering, is this worth the extra money over the previous version? Because yeah, this is a little bit more expensive. If you want to know exactly what price it is, links down in the description. It's currently on sale, but that sale is going to be ending soon, so if you do want to pick one up, make sure you're quick about it. But in terms of comparing it to the previous version, the movement is a lot better with this NH34 to the previous Chinese movement. So that alone is a big bonus. But another big thing is the sizing of this one. So this is 2mm shorter on that diameter, and again, it's also got female end links. So it's going to wear a lot better on wrist. So speaking of which, I'll show it on wrist now. So this is what it looks like on my 7-inch wrist. And as I say, those new sizes, it does wear a lot better. So that reduced diameter now down to 40 from 42. Those female end links just helps it conform to wrist a lot better. Yeah, there's not a lot of curvature to the case, but with those two other things it still wears really well. And something else that's helping it fit well is that you can actually now easily access and use that micro adjust on the clasp. So get the perfect fit. And it does look good. Yes, there are a couple of issues. Two main ones being the length of the hour and minute hand, they need just slightly bigger, especially that hour hand. And then, unfortunately, as always, with Pagani design, that lume. If they can just add a little bit more, then that'd be great. The fact that they now finally switched to BGW9 is definitely a step in the right direction. It's definitely a lot better than the previous lume they were using, but they just need a little bit more of it and sort out that slightly odd grey colour on the indices, and then I think they've got a cracking watch. It's still a really good one as it is, especially now we've got that NH34. And as I say, they've tweaked a couple of little bits size-wise. Now got an applied logo, sorted out that clasp. So I would recommend this one, as long as you don't mind the lume not being the best, and also that slight issue with the hands being a little bit on the short side. But let me know down in the comments, are those things deal breakers for you? But that's it for this one guys, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.